Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. It's BJ
and Patrick,
and we're back talking all things real estate. And thank you for joining us today. Just right up front, if you haven't, please help us out. Take a minute and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you like what you see, if you think it's good information, or maybe some days it's just entertaining, certainly let people know. We want to grow the channel and get the word out there that we're here talking about all things real estate.
Awesome. Well, this time we're going to be covering frequently asked questions from home sellers.
Okay.
So this is part 2,
right,
and I'll leave a link to part 1 in the description and probably in the comments just so you don't miss it. But we're going to continue on with that series of questions of most frequently asked questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we go. Relating to the contract of purchase and sale. So
okay,
you're the seller, and this is the question you would have. All right. How do I respond to lowball offers?
Well, there's a couple, excuse me. There's a couple of things to keep in mind here. If we can keep our emotions out of the negotiation process, that will always help. And that's part of what we get to do as realtors, is help our clients on the emotional level in terms of the negotiation.
Because that reaction does come back.
Right.
Like, people do get upset.
Right.
I can't believe they give it.
Right.
Like, that's a true thing. That happens.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So what can you do, or what are your options when you get a low offer? Generally speaking, unless it's really out to lunch, I normally would recommend that we make a counter. Thank you for your offer. We appreciate it, but here's our number back to you. And you need to show us that you're prepared to get here, or at least close to here, for us to have anything to consider. Right?
Yeah. I always looked at it like, if it's a lowball offer, you never know. Like, some people just have to try.
Yeah.
Some people just have to, and you're going to respond whichever way you're going to respond, depending on the seller's, how motivated are you to sell?
Right.
Right. So if you want to take that number, okay, fine. But, maybe, I guess, after making sure, reviewing, what are the other sale numbers?
Sure.
Is this a realistic expectation?
Sure.
Or is the buyer just lowballing?
Yeah.
For this, for the off chance they might get something that low and not
right,
sell
right,
for a fair price?
Right. So, and the other option, or there's actually 3 options of what you can do when you receive any offer. The other option is you can choose not to respond, which in itself sends a message. And I've done that before, where we responded by saying, look, we're not going to respond to your offer, but if your client wants to get in the range of where we are, we're happy to negotiate and try and arrive at an agreement. But the other, that's an option, is to just, no, we're not going to respond, which again sends a message in and of itself. And the final thing, and again, this has to be that there's typically got to be some kind of extenuating circumstance, is you can accept a lowball offer.
Yeah, you still have the freedom to choose that. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So those are kind of your 3 options. My recommendation is always, if we can extract the emotion from the equation, then we can make a counter, or we can decide that from a strategy point of view, we think it makes the most sense to not counter and not respond.
Awesome. All right, moving on. What is a sale contingency? And this usually sounds like a subject to the sale of another property.
Yeah. So I think I would go with that. That if your sale is, or you write an offer on my listing, and it's subject to the sale of such and such a home at such and such a location.
Right. So they cannot buy your place until this place is sold.
Yeah. And typically when we have an offer like that, and we accept it, it has some kind of time clause associated with it that if we receive another offer and it becomes unconditional, that then you have 24 or 48 or 72 hours in which to remove your condition of the sale of another property.
And you're talking about in the case that a second offer, or second buyer that's interested, that makes an offer
Yes.
that's acceptable,
That's right.
then that scenario would start.
That's correct.
Okay. What are the common closing expenses for home sellers? Hey, if I sell my home, what's it going to cost me?
So you as the seller, obviously you're going to have your cost to move and everything else. You're going to have your cost where you're moving to and the property transfer tax that goes with it. But on a seller's point of view, your biggest costs are going to be your legal fees.
Your legal fees?
Yeah.
Commission?
Sure. Yeah. The commission typically for both you're going to pay your listing agent and he's going to pay, or his brokerage is going to pay the other side.
So it's pretty straightforward. Whatever commission that was negotiated upon in the listing contract,
right,
plus the lawyer that's going to transfer the title, extinguish the mortgage, all those,
right,
whatever they do.
Yeah, and if you have any fees associated with your mortgage, there's obviously that with the bank as well.
Right, there could be a penalty if you're in a fixed mortgage.
Yeah, so, or even some people want to port their mortgage, so there's some kind of fee associated with porting the mortgage.
That's an option.
Yeah, right.
So we can't give you specific numbers, but those are the things that you would research, look into, and of course be aware of when signing a listing agreement.
Right.
All right. Should I include appliances or leave them as negotiable?
No, you should. Well, again, it's all up to whatever you determine makes the most sense. That when I said no, kind of just as a knee-jerk reaction, if you will, the standard is that the appliances are included.
Right. It's common here, Victoria, Vancouver Island,
yeah,
that the appliances are included. I know if you go in Ontario, and I think maybe somewhere in the prairies as well,
yeah,
everybody takes their appliances with them. They do deposits differently too, but that's a different story.
Yeah. So
but it's completely negotiable.
Here, the standard is typically that appliances are included. However, I had a client who bought a brand new townhouse in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
None of the appliances were included.
Was it brand new or just
brand new, hot off the press?
Was the townhouse brand new?
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm. Oh, and they did not include.
That's right.
Oh, did they offer a package?
I think we ended up going through connections I had with a commercial connection through a
for appliance
supplier. Yeah. So they could get what they wanted and so on, and exactly what they wanted. But no, the builder said, no, I'm a builder. I don't do appliances.
I don't sell appliances.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they, it was a brand new build. Like they picked colors and everything else. My client. So yeah.
Okay. Seller question. Hey, we've been on the market for a little while. Maybe it's been a few months. Maybe it's been a few weeks. Here's the question. Why isn't anybody looking at my home?
So generally speaking, first of all, you need to understand, what is the market doing?
Right.
Right? What's going on in the market? Is it
a hot market?
You're right.
Or medium?
Or just
slow?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? What's going on with time of year? Are you doing this over Christmas and people are not really out looking at homes over the Christmas holiday or, whatever holiday? Okay. So put that aside. The main other reason, I'm going to say the main other reasons would be location.
Okay.
So it's either, maybe you're way out in the boonies, maybe you're right on the main road and there are alternatives around you that people are more interested in going to see, or the other part of it, that it's a good indication that your price isn't right.
I definitely had that experience with selling some remote properties, East Souk, even just across the Malahat. Like if it's in Mill Bay, Shawnigan Lake, and it's out in the bush somewhere, there's just less buyers looking.
Right.
So there's going to be fewer showings.
Yeah.
And it might take longer. Even the price might be right compared to like everything else that's being offered.
Right.
It just took longer to find the right buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, like you said, the price.
Yeah. And again, what is in your area at that same price point? I tell my clients when we're looking at, what's going on in the neighborhood that we're listing their home. I always tell my clients, we don't want to be the reason that somebody else gets to sell their place first.
Right. I'm happy when I see something competing against a listing that I put on there that's higher.
Yeah.
Or smaller.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case
Right.
may be. And it's like, oh, they're just going to help us.
Right.
But I don't want to be the one that's like recommending, hey, let's list the property higher to help another person sell.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you recommend service providers who may be needed throughout the transaction?
Yes, I can. And it depends on what we're talking about. So there's an inspection, which, I tell all my clients when I recommend somebody for an inspection, it's not because I get something for that recommendation. It's because my clients have had good experiences with these inspectors. They have a good reputation and they do quality work.
I'm really glad you said that because I think there might be a perception that there is a kickback or there's some sort of reciprocal relationship, but yeah, there isn't as far if it's a mortgage broker, if it's a lawyer,
Yeah.
it's usually you've developed a good relationship, a trusting relationship with the other service provider that that they're not going to let your clients down.
Absolutely, 100%. So whether that's the inspection, whether that's the lawyer, mortgage broker, maybe you need to do a septic, pump out in an inspection, that's a different angle. Maybe you need to do oil tank scans, all of those
Any
things.
one of those things.
Yeah.
I know where this question comes from because this is the biggest criticism for realtors. Not enough communication. So the question is, how frequently and by which methods do you communicate with your home sellers?
Well, we determine what method makes the most sense for them.
You talk about it.
Right. We talk right up front. Would you like to receive text? Some of them, yeah, I'm good with texts. Would you like to receive a phone call? Yes, I'd rather have a phone call. Or I'd like an email or, whatever the case might be. And, I think we all, I do anyway. I try to be kind of weekly with my clients to say, here's where we're at. Here's how we're doing. Here's, what we've got for showings. Here's what our traction that we've seen on the different websites we advertise, what it looks like. And based on that, here's my recommendation.
So at least it doesn't matter if there's like tons of activity or no activity. We're going to at least touch base, maybe a report every week.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I do it. And that seems to, even if nothing's happening, to call and report nothing's happening.
Right.
Oh, this is even when we're negotiating. It's like, oh, I haven't heard back from the buyer or the seller or whoever, right? It's like, hey, I'm just calling to let you know I haven't heard anything yet, or I'm texting you, hey, they have the counter offer, they have the offer, but I'm just letting you know it's 11 o'clock at night and I haven't heard anything, but the offer's open until noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
But just that.
Yeah.
Very soft touch
sure.
basing with people.
And I'll make sure with my clients that they know too, hey, so I'll give you an example. This is for showing, but I contacted my client yesterday. We're going to look at a business, and just to let them know, hey, we're still waiting for them to green light our time in there. It's a little different with businesses. We're still waiting for a green light. This is the time we're aiming for. They've said we'll know up until this time the next day. I'll let you know when I know.
Yeah, as long as that's communicated. Okay. Yeah. For showings, how do I prepare my home for showings? We could do a whole video on this.
I think we could.
Maybe just a highlight.
So the Reader's Digest. You've done all the prep work.
The Cole's Notes.
Yeah, you've done all the prep work and everything that we've talked about. Make sure everything is clean. So, if you just had supper, make sure you've cleaned off everything.
Put the
counters, dishes, all of that. I recommend to my clients, turn on all the lights in the home. Every single light. Don't miss one. And, that's
kind of like the bare minimum.
I was going to say, that's the basics. I've been in other homes, and I've done this and had clients do this where they come in and there's maybe some soft music playing throughout the home, right? There's some cool jazz or something.
Yeah, they bake some cookies.
And
that's fine.
One client, they did, every time I had a showing, they would come in and bake something.
Yeah.
So,
Because you could buy that at the store. You just get like a roll of dough and you put it on. Yeah, if you
but you
really
don't,
wanted to go
right,
that far,
right.
you can.
You
But
don't have to.
yeah, it's
Right.
rarely I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had one client that we did every time we did an open house, they would come in or not come in, it was their home. They would bake before the open house. So the home just smelled like you were walking into a bakery during the open house.
Yeah. Start salivating.
Right.
I'll stop. I don't want to go. I'm gonna like go home and eat cookies now. Should I be present at home during showings? Should I be there?
Well, you can. I don't think it's beneficial, because what are you going to say if somebody's walking through your home and you hear them and they're saying to the realtor, "Who thought this was a good idea? Why did somebody do this? I don't like this."
Oh yeah, and you're gonna carry that because it's your home. It's personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you're gonna try to negotiate after.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't,
So no, I don't think it's a good idea. Even if you're home and somebody comes, I'll have clients where maybe they work from home or they're at home.
Yeah, it happens.
And they'll leave. They'll say, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I'll be back in 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever it is."
Right. So we recommend against it, but the reality is sometimes somebody, maybe it's a medical condition, whatever the case may be, they might not be able to leave their house.
Right.
So I always found it bringing in home buyers is, it gives us opportunity as a home buyer to ask the seller questions about the home or the neighborhood, or just get into a casual conversation. But it could lead to like giving away information about your motivations, your reasons for selling.
Yeah. Your negotiating position,
And
different things.
the idea is that it's supposed to be like a poker game. You don't tell people what your motivations are. You
Right.
don't give anything away, right? Or it might cost you on the sale.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Will you be holding open houses?
Maybe. This was a different animal during COVID. And the thing that came out of COVID was I started doing virtual open houses. And the really cool part of that was I would end up with maybe hundreds of people looking at the virtual open house. Right?
Oh, wow.
Because it stays live. I kept it live on my website and on different social media platforms. So it got way more exposure than the 2 hours on a Sunday or Saturday that we have an open house. Should you do open houses? Sure. Yeah. If you're, depending on your schedule and everything else, I think it's a good idea to do open houses. Yeah.
I want to add to that. Open houses is one tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Now, the amount of sales that come directly from an open house are around 5%. So it's not the most effective way of selling a house. If it's a hot market, and having an open house might be a way of making it convenient to get kicked out, like as a homeowner,
Sure.
kicked out of the property. The first 2 weeks that the property's listed usually is the most amount of activity.
Right.
So it might be convenient to hold an open house and let realtors come through with their clients, plus, get the neighbors and whoever else might be interested. So it might be a convenient way to achieve that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not a big fan of open houses.
Yeah, I think it depends. I do them on a pretty regular basis myself.
It all depends on my client.
Yeah.
If they want open houses, I'm happy to do them. If they don't want them, I'm happier not to do them. I find myself way more effective doing other things than spending something that has maybe a 5% chance of a success to a sale.
Right.
But not to ignore it. It's one of the tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, I think that's the way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may not use every tool every time, but you may use, depends. You may what you use and when. So, well, you know what? I know that went fast. I don't know if it went fast for you guys. I think it went fast for us.
Bang out those questions real fast.
Yeah. So, hey, again, thank you for watching today. If you haven't, please take a minute and subscribe to the channel and like our video. It helps us to grow the channel. If you think there's some people that would enjoy what we've talked about, maybe they just benefit from it, feel free to give them the information so they can connect with us. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comments, or our email or contact information is in the description. You can reach out to us that way also.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya.